Hey guys, it's Jill. It's Wednesday, August 28th, and I wanted to touch on something that I read today. Um, Recently, there was an arrest made in my hometown, and it was a mom who was trying to keep her family together despite some challenges that she was facing, and there ended up being some police force um, used during an altercation. And then there's been a lot of divide. And I want to focus on safety here because there have been times in history when women have felt that they had to protect themselves and also protect their children, and it didn't always work out. There were many Jewish moms, many African slave moms who, when trying to hide their children, would end up taking their lives because they would end up pinching their nose and covering the child's mouth so that they couldn't make noise, so that they wouldn't be found when they were in hiding. The purpose of not being found was to save mom's life as well, or other people who were involved in the situation, other people who were with them, who felt they were in danger, or that maybe their humanity was at stake, right? Things were being taken from them. As humans, we're all doing the best that we can. And so we have to remember that when we look at who we call for help and the ways in which we help. It doesn't always go to plan because sometimes there isn't a plan. Okay. But one of the things that really, really shook me today when I was reading the police report and I was reading comments about the division is, number one, generational trauma, generational cycles. Cycles of poverty, mental health, drug abuse, they tend to run congruently, right? All those things combine to just create chaos that repeat throughout generation after generation. So the trauma that these children endured that day was probably similar to the trauma that the mother had endured in her life, and similar to maybe even that mother's mother, right? And it was mentioned in the police report that these things had taken place, that the other family members had been involved, and then things had quickly gone awry. And I understand generational trauma. I grew up in a lot of trauma and chaos. But I had this sudden, we'll call it a revelation, I guess, that if we keep fighting against everything that is being done by our police departments or our child protective services, then we're gonna end up in a very strange place because we're in a moment in time where police departments are using AI to write police reports, and that's it's actually a reality. You can search up articles on, you know, what police departments are using them, where they're being used, how they're being used. There's talk of sending drones to investigate or to be first responders. And I was wondering how differently the situation might have gone had that been the case, had a drone shown up to assist before humans had arrived. Or what would this police report look like if it had been written by AI technology? The other day, I was reading a book from my childhood. called the Babysitters Club. It's about 5 young girls who started a club where they would come home from school and have a meeting, and people could call, and they would go to their house and watch their kids. And I was so taken back to my own childhood and times where I would hide out in my bedroom and just need to be left alone, right? Just or was hiding from whatever else was happening in hopes of not being found. And it occurred to me that writing really does move us to another space and time. It can help us to escape, but it also creates fictional storylines and characters. And while they're relatable, they're 100% not true. Like, these girls in my book never existed. Their school that they attended never existed. The city they lived in never really existed, except in the pages of my book. So writing affects how we interact with the world. So AI police reports, probably not the way we want to go. And the way that we respond to our surroundings, the way that we respond to one another, are going to become much, much more important. The way that we handle our humanity is going to become much more important as the technology begins to take over. Things like facial recognition, things like AI, the drones, especially if, God forbid, we were to ever weaponize drones. Communication, effective communication, mindfulness are all going to come into play. Because all of these things, number one, they can be used against you when you go to court. If the police reports aren't accurate and no one is checking them, that's your whole life right there. I don't want to say that it's dangerous, but it could be, and it's just a little bit insane. The things that we allow are going to persist, and we are in a moment right now where we have the chance to stand up and resist and stand up and say, we're not going to do this. Things like self-driving cars on the roads, I don't think that's safe, but that's a story maybe for another day. There are a lot of things moving and shifting, and it is an election year. Please use discernment when you are reading about interactions, and whether it's people with mental health, people with drug addictions, our police forces responding. Now, I know that they don't always respond in kind. I'm not saying that everyone is on the up and up, okay, but I am saying that there are things that are going well, and we need to focus on those, because those things aren't what we find in the news, okay? And the generational cycles, well, the only people who can break those chains and those cycles are us individually. So look at your families, look at your mental health, look at who you're holding accountable, because as much as I hate to say it, the closed closets and the community programs and the parents and the policemen are not responsible for us individually, right? That is ours. And we're doing the best that we can. Everybody is out here doing the best that we can, okay? So, I don't know, you guys. That's just my 2 cents on it. Everybody was doing the best that they can. It doesn't always work out the way we want it to, but everybody's trying to make sure everybody gets home safe at the end of the day, and that I'm sure of. I'll talk to you guys later.